I am here at the bottom of the screen, but I am recording, so we can go ahead and call it to order, Mr. President.
Okay, great. Let's call the meeting to order. As I understand, nobody from the public, if there is.
We
We'll
have
open
two
the
students
public
in
report.
attendance for school, but I don't think they want to make any public comment.
One virtual, one online. I mean,
Okay.
one in person.
Okay, so seeing nobody from the public that wants to comment, we'll close that portion of the meeting. And the next item on the agenda, administrative matters, the park board minutes from the meeting earlier this month. Any comments?
Everything looked good.
Yep, good.
Mr.
Okay.
President, can I ask you to, at some point here, to amend the agenda to include that emergency item that we added, which is on your list, it's item 4E, but that technically wasn't posted 48 hours in advance. We just had that information yesterday, so we updated that. So I would ask that you amend the agenda to include that item for today's meeting.
Okay, so we're going to, we'll need a motion to amend the agenda to include item 4E, you say?
E, yes, I'm sorry, 4F.
F,
F,
F, right?
F, 4F.
Okay,
I'll make that motion to amend the agenda to include 4F.
I'll second.
been moved and seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Unanimous.
Thank you.
Okay, the minutes have been approved, correct?
No,
No, I'll
we
move
hadn't
to
had a
approve the
motion.
minutes.
No motion.
I'll
I
motion
move
to-
that we approve
right.
the minutes.
There you go.
All right.
I'll second.
All right, moved and seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, on to the vouchers. I see no trees this month, so
Yeah.
anybody have any questions?
No. If you're happy, I'm happy. I'll make the motion to approve both vouchers.
Second.
Moved and seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous. All right, February board report.
Mr. President, we have a pretty long meeting today, and I've sent you along a 5-page report there. I will leave it at that you trust that everyone's been able to peruse that, and if you had any questions, I could probably answer that at this time.
No.
Anybody?
No?
So otherwise, it's there
Okay.
for your information.
All right, thank you very much. And let's move on to items for discussion. First one, Centennial Park Fire Sprinkler System.
And Mr. President, I'm filling in for Kevin. He's been out sick here the last few days, so that's why he's not in attendance at this meeting today. But there's a recommendation memo from him on awarding a fire sprinkler system maintenance contract at the Centennial Park Clubhouse for the clubhouse and for the maintenance building at Centennial Park. This is, we previously had this done when Rodney was here, and this is one of those things that kind of slipped through the cracks in the transition of a bunch of different staff here, and it hasn't been done in almost 3 years now. So we want to make sure to get this updated. The company that was the lowest proposal, we saw 2 proposals. One was from Rask, and they were the one who previously serviced these buildings. They are the one with the lowest proposal, and we're recommending to award this to them again, so they can get that work done on an annual basis for us. This is a cost of $2,059 per year, and it's for a 5-year term.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, been moved and seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, okay, unanimous.
Thank you.
Moving on to preventive maintenance agreement.
Mr. President, this is the, again, speaking on Kevin's behalf, this is a preventive maintenance agreement for the maintenance buildings on Fisher Street and for the maintenance building at Centennial Park. They both have commercial makeup air heating units and air conditioners that our staff is unable to service. These are the last 2 town-owned buildings with commercial HVAC systems that don't have preventive maintenance contracts. We saw 2 proposals for this and are recommending the award to Mechanical Concepts. on an annual cost of $2,550, which includes 2 visits annually through 2023. So that is our recommendation to award it to them for that contract on a 2-year contract.
Anybody have any questions?
So moved.
I'll
Second.
it.
It's been moved and seconded by, I think, Ron. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, unanimous. All right, so Bishop Knoll wants to use the Grove Park tennis courts.
Aye. Oh, you, sorry.
Mr. President, we do have, I had spoken to Eric Roldan, and he is on this call today. He joins us on the Zoom. This is something that they've previously, the last few years, they've always run a tennis program with no home. They've been reliant upon other parks and recreation departments or other schools for facilities. They've kind of bounced around because of the comings and goings of different programs. Most recently now in COVID, they were recently at TF North and TF South tennis courts in Calumet City and Lansing. The state of Illinois is much more restrictive than what we are here in Indiana, and they've lost that opportunity over there. So they sought out to me and see if we could help them out in any way. While it's not perfect, what we're recommending would be a Grove Park use 3 days a week for some practices after school hours, 3:30 to 5:30-ish, and basically starting in mid-March and running through the end of their season, which is typically right around the end of May. So it's about a 10 or 11-week season, depending on how far they would progress in the state championships and so forth. The reason I bring this to you is we really, I guess one of the things is the only fee schedule that I could find and apply them to is we have a $15 per court rental per day that they would have to use. So that if we apply that, this is upwards of $1,350 for their season, which just wouldn't be doable for them. So they've sent this letter on to us asking for your consideration of either waiving the fee or a reduced fee structure. And I think the other option that maybe might be a good one for us to consider would be similar to our per player fee cost that we have with Munster Little League and softball and Babe Ruth and soccer and so forth. While we don't have one defined in that table of fees, I would recommend that if they have as any Munster residents, maybe being tennis is a minimal maintenance for us other than the courts, the nets on the courts is pretty much the only maintenance other than when the time comes to totally refinish the courts. So I think a pretty substantial reduction compared to some of those other sports would be in line for what they would be seeking to do. And I would recommend maybe a consideration of a per player fee of $5 for a resident and $10 for non-resident for a season of such a short notice, and knowing that it would only be a few days a week that they would even be out there.
Mr. President,
Yes,
can I ask Mark a question? Mark, you alluded to it. What is our cost for upkeep of tennis courts, whether it's Frank Hammond or Grove or anywhere else? Like
It's
just
really
putting the nets
minimal.
up?
Yeah, it's pretty much putting the nets up and replacing them every few years, probably on about a 5-year, scale if they survive. Sometimes maybe 3 if they're a real heavily used area. And other than that, it's kind of any garbage pickup that's out there. So
Yeah, I was the
pretty minimal.
knucklehead. I was the knucklehead that made Kevin put out those tennis courts, and now there's 14 inches of snow. So that's my fault.
They're buried. I don't think
What's
that.
Mark?
Go
I have
ahead.
a question, Mark. What about the liability? Do they have some type of coverage? I'm sure on
yeah.
their kids of some type.
They would name us as they would supply a certificate of insurance naming us as an additional insured like all the leagues do.
Okay,
Yes.
that's great. Good,
Yes.
that's great.
But I didn't ask for that until you would consider I didn't want to have it issued because there's a minimal cost to issue that until they knew whether or not this might get approved for that.
So as official Noel, I'll make the motion that, because Mrs. Patrick is also my neighbor, that we allow Bishop Knoll to use Grove for this 1 year, as long as they take care of the insurance, adding us as additionally insured.
Well, married to an BNI graduate too, I think I'll second that.
See, you're smart.
I just wanted to
36
say though,
years.
there is some precedent for the fact that, Munster schools get to use our courts, but there is precedent for use of our parks by Calumet College. I know did it for soccer, and I think
Right.
Purdue Cal did. So I think it's a good idea as well, being a good neighbor. So anybody
Yeah,
else?
It's a good
Comments?
cause.
We got a motion and a second.
Yeah.
All right, it's been moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye,
Aye.
unanimous. Okay,
They're going to state this year. Watch out.
Good luck.
okay, let's see, 4D, the Z-Track mower purchase.
Mr. President, this is another one. I guess I'm representing Kevin today on, he picked a good meeting to miss. We've sought out in your packets, you have 2 new Z-Track mowers is our proposal from the 2020. This is the 2020 GO bond, so it's not the park bond, but the town bond, and the clerk's office has informed me that this is okay for the park board to be the one making this any kind of considerations for approvals out of that. So this is a recommendation that we make that purchase from a Sourcewell program, which is a purchasing cooperative type of program. So they already go through the requirements for the competitive purchasing. So there's only one proposal in here, and we found it actually very, very on par with previous purchases when we've made purchased Z-Track mowers previously. But we would be replacing 2 2016 Z-Track mowers at a total, and with trading in those 2 units, it's a total net cost for us of $14,525. In the bond issue, we had budgeted $20,000, so we're definitely within that range, and we would recommend to move forward with this purchase.
Anybody got any questions?
I'm assuming this is a part of our capital replacement, right? So
That is true, yes.
I'll make the motion.
I'll
Are you guys on
second
mute?
it.
I was getting nervous there.
I'll bail you out.
Okay, been moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Thank you.
Unanimous. Okay, the view.
The view, this is the, Mr. President, this is the item that we tabled last month. I kind of gave you a new memo, a different little perspective for your consideration today. And maybe even since I typed this, I might even give you some more information for you to consider moving forward potentially. But I wanted to share with you the memo of over the last 4 years, how we've subsidized operations with Indigo Golf Partners. So you can see those figures there. The golf side this year, in their best year ever, still didn't reach pretty much the worst year in the last 4 years on the banquet side. So when Bill and Andrew have reported previously that we're really a banquet facility with a golf course, I wanted to really kind of stress that side of things, that their worst year ever still exceeded the best year ever on our golf course for us. Now we'll continue to grow in the golf because we had 6 weeks of no play at all. So we'll grow a little bit, but I don't think we're going to grow to the tune of 6 figures or anything on the golf side of operations. So wanted to point out that just reimagining the space as a dedicated banquet rental area, it'll allow us to have the same personnel handle banquets by knowing in advance how many people are coming to those events, capitalize on planned food and beverage versus the on-demand style of a restaurant, save money by not having staff there when there's no rental is booked, have a flexible space that can be added to larger banquets as a cocktail or hors d'oeuvres area. That's something that Paulette said she thinks they'll be able to add that space as kind of a lead-in to the bigger banquet halls at times. allowing to advertise an indoor-outdoor space by utilizing the view and the outdoor patio that wraps around the pro shop area for functions. There's already been requests for this to Paulette. She was the one that brought that to my attention already, that there's a desire for that in our current COVID still times here that we have. Offering another indoor space rental in our park system. The social center pre-COVID, so before this year, I consider it that it's been booked 100%. When you add up in 2018 and 2019, we had over 156, and another year was 159 rentals. That was more than the typical one rental on every Saturday and every Sunday for the whole year. So that shows that there's a high demand for these lower price point types of rooms. This would be a lower price point room than large scale banquet room. This room, the fee just to rent the room is $250 for a 4-hour period. Plus they'll make money on the food and beverage side of operations as well. As a comparison, the entire ballroom, depending on the day of the week, is between $900 and $1,500 for that same rentals cost before adding on the food and beverage as well. Expands opportunities for multiple rentals on the same day, as the setup and breakdown doesn't have to occur immediately if it was a shared space. It does allow for some of the last minute rentals, such as our celebrations of life, our funeral luncheons, as larger decorated events usually won't occur in such a smaller space during the daytime hours. And we project revenues in that first year to be over $50,000 in a non-COVID time as a rental space for declining revenues versus declining revenues as the restaurant that we've had. The other comparison is that I've mentioned before that there's 15 other eateries within a 1-mile location of the park, and surely more to come with Centennial Village development continuing nearby. I think that the recommendation would be, from our perspective, that we're able to go forward and use the view as exclusively as a rental space for us moving forward. And we would recommend to go forward with those improvements that we're estimating between $49,000 to $52,000, but depending on all the various items there. Those improvements would be closing off the roll-up serve-up window, removing the permanent cabinetry that's in the room, putting in a new glass wall behind the existing barn doors so they can have privacy and you can close off that room so noise doesn't travel from the lobby into the room and from the room into the lobby area. Replacing the flooring with a laminate style floor similar to the other banquet rooms. And then there's some minor electrical, carpentry, and painting that would also be included in that. That would be the recommendation. However, maybe another alternative for your consideration would be is to not do the physical improvements, and we just direct Paulette and Andrew and staff there to look at making it rentals for the next year and see how it goes. And that way we don't really make any big, large physical changes, and we can see how the rental situations turn out for us there, because I think we really see that this is our bread and butter, is our rentals of the Indigo operations that they do for us out at that particular park. So with that, I also in your packet, I gave you a breakdown on the 3rd page of this memo that shows the rough costs of estimates there that as we put those things together, just to be able to bring some figures to you for your consideration.
And I have a question, Mr. President, or a statement, I guess, I don't know.
Sure.
In light of the fact that, Mark, you sent out that message that the council would like to have a work study session with us. Would it make sense to sort of put this on their agenda? I mean, I know we have one council member attending here. I've gotten a chance to speak to one. My thing is this: when I moved to Munster, and I haven't been here as long as some, Centennial Park was supposed to be a park, and now it just seems like it's turning into I'm going to be a social center / banquet facility. I just want to make sure that they're okay with that. They spent a lot of money with this, not all of them, some of them were on the council, and now all of a sudden it's turning into, look, I get Indigo's point. Indigo wants to make money, and they make money by selling office and meeting space and banquets, and that's great. But I guess the public service side of me is we're still a park and not everything has to make money and we're providing a service, and I get it that maybe the hot dogs and hamburgers aren't going to cut it, but maybe a juice bar. I don't know. I mean, whatever it is, I just want to make sure the council's on board after they spent all this money on Centennial being a restaurant. And then all of a sudden we're not going to have anything anymore. And you're really going to just buy beer and pop from the pro shop, and everything else you're going to bring picnics for yourself. That's my opinion. Just a thought. Now
Yeah,
I'm getting
no,
nervous.
well, I think it's yeah. Anybody else?
I have a couple, oh, go ahead.
Actually, I kind of wanted to just see how it runs, if there's actually a need before we invest money into a remodel and just only have that area for the banquet overflow, I guess. And I would like to see if council, if that's the direction they actually want to go in. So I'm kind of.
Are we, did we have any study on how much business that we were turning away because of the size? You know, did we turn away 3 or 4? And I think I agree that not to spend the money really up front. Let's see how it goes and see if we get, you know, some tread, you know, some traction. And maybe like, you know, maybe in the future to spruce it up if we have to.
Well, you know that the building has started moving again. It had been stable for several years, but it is moving. There's a 7-inch difference between the one end of the building and the other, the height. And, you know, there's litigation going on, and we don't know how that's going to end up. There are, one of the options is to tear it down and rebuild. I don't think that's what we're going to do. That's very expensive, and somebody's insurance company would have to be willing to go along with that, or a court would tell them that they were. So, you know, so we really don't know. The biggest issue right now is whether or not people should pay in order to park there. And so I think there are a number of issues that the council would kind of like to get your opinion and see what direction you think we should go, because you've spent more time, of course, on thinking about that park than the council, well, the other council members have. None of them were on the council when we built Centennial Park.
When did it start moving again?
Though, right, Ken?
Pardon?
Ken, you were on the park board then.
I was on the park board then.
Yeah.
You know, so I've been involved since it was called Lakewood Park.
Yeah.
Which is, I think, what the Rotary Club wanted to name it.
Yeah.
But you know, a lot of things are in flux right now, but we'd kind of like to know what direction you want. We got an awful lot of complaints this last year because of the crowding at the park, that there were so many people there at times of the day, it was hard to find a place to park, that a lot of people from out of town were, I'm going to say, hogging the parking places. That's a hard thing to say because it's a public park. And as a public park, people from out of town are welcome there, and we are welcome at their parks. But what's going to happen to the building is uncertain. I mean, now that it has, I was sort of assuming, since it has stopped moving and had been stable for a while, that at least it was going to stay that way, that it had reached, you know, its equilibrium. But that's not the case.
Well, Ken, has the town looked into, is it safe to even stay open now?
Oh,
I mean,
yes,
you have to-
it's
okay.
quite safe.
It's been looked at to make sure that.
Yes, the difficulty comes with whether sliding glass doors will continue to operate the way we want them to. The elevator shaft, things that have to be plumb or perfectly horizontal. But you don't, the place where my family goes on vacation in Wisconsin every summer had a dining hall right next to the lake. And you could tell when you walked through it that floor sloped towards the lake. If you put a marble on the floor, it would roll to the low end. That's not the case at this park. The building is so long that it could be well, when I heard that one end was 7 inches higher than the other, that was a surprise to me. I kind of thought it was maybe tilting a little bit towards the lake, but such a small amount that I never felt it. If I put a marble on the floor, it would stay where it was put, I'm sure. Oh, Dustin?
Yeah, if I may. So just to expand on the information that I provided Councilman Schoon, we had our structural and geotechnical expert that we've retained for that litigation come out. We take consistent measurements. That expert is in the process of producing a draft report. When that draft report is complete, it will be presented to council. I have spoken with Mark, and I thought that it would also be appropriate that the park board be included on a joint session to review that information at the same time. So the insights that Ken has shared were preliminary insights that I shared with council. They're all true, but there is more work being done, and there is more analysis and prescriptive, perhaps, outcomes that you will have the opportunity to consider when that time is germane. And we're looking to see that draft report completed and hopefully presented to the park board and the town council probably the first half of March.
Thank you,
Thanks for
Dustin.
the clarification, because I was starting to wonder there a little bit.
Well, it sounds to me like we ought to table this right now, and we're going to have the joint study session next week, I think, is one of the dates. Maybe we can talk about this then. Maybe wait until after the report comes out, but maybe for now, what we do with the view is the second option you presented, Mark, about let's see how it goes without doing the improvements. I mean, that seems feasible. We don't have to spend any money, but it looks, or it sounds to me like we shouldn't be talking about spending money to do anything before we know what's going on. Anybody else?
Yeah, Dustin, I want to thank Dustin and Ken for bringing us up to speed here, and I appreciate that. Dustin, when do you anticipate a report to come, maybe?
So, our expert was only out on Friday, so this information is still very fresh. I would expect that you would have something to review in the first half of March.
Oh, that's great. Thank you.
Hopefully, yeah. And, I think the expert's taking the appropriate amount of time and diligence. You don't want to have something half-cocked out there with an item this large. And I think that, because it's a matter of pending litigation, how is shared and what's shared. Certainly there are matters of public record that are appropriate for everyone to know. And then there are matters that are germane to that litigation that as a legal entity, you and you alone with the council will be party to.
Thank you.
Thank you.
On a personal matter, I would be disappointed if the view was never open to the public, to stop in for lunch, because it's been a favorite place of mine for my wife and me to go and have lunch and sit near the lake and enjoy the view. I understand that our coming doesn't pay the rent. There has to be a critical mass of people like me who like to do that. Maybe we need to advertise a little bit more in the news you can use that, what facilities are available besides golf.
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, you're right. I've always enjoyed it as well. And actually, when we had our meetings pre-COVID, I mean, I enjoyed to have lunch there after we were done with those first Tuesday meetings. So,
Yeah,
But
I think
again,
I
you're
attended
right.
2 of those before COVID started.
yeah, but like you say, it doesn't pay the rent, but so anybody else got anything to say on it?
No,
If not, how's
Yep.
about we just table this? We're gonna have this meeting next week with the study session with the council. Maybe we could talk about it and kick it around, but for now, let's just, and I hate to use it, but kick this can down the road a little bit.
I think it'd be prudent for waiting.
Sounds good.
Okay,
Okay, sounds good.
all right, so we don't need a motion or anything like that. By the way, on that meeting with the town, the joint session, I know you sent out a couple of dates. Is everybody prepared right now to tell Mark what's good for us in terms of, I think it was the 24th and the 26th, or I don't have it in front of me, but
It was a 23rd.
from my standpoint, either one of those days with the town council is fine. I assume it's a Zoom, right?
Yes, it'll be a Zoom.
I can't
Okay.
do the 24th.
Okay,
I have another meeting with my other job.
They were
Now-
looking for the
Your other job.
23rd or the 25th.
Besides snow blowing, yes.
what was it?
The 23rd and 25th were the 2 that they were seeking.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I
Tuesday,
forgot what
Both
they
good.
Is Dustin still there? Dustin, are you meeting with the school board coming up?
I believe I was invited by a school board member to attend on
Yeah.
a Tuesday, and there was an interrogatory with regard to the time, and I have not responded yet.
So that would have been 14, that would be a Monday, right?
Yeah,
Okay,
I had told that member of the school board that I cannot do a Monday.
okay, so then I have to pay attention to if there's any other date, so you're asking these other dates. I hate to commit right now, if we have something going with Dustin, with his busy schedule, if we
The
could get him
date
in.
that was discussed was the 23rd with the school board matter,
Okay.
Mr. Stojic.
Okay, good, thank you.
What
And
are
the
the
other
dates
dates were
again,
fine.
Mark? What are the dates again?
Tuesday, February 23rd at 6:30, or Thursday, February 25th at 6 p.m.
From my standpoint, I could do either one. 6 p.m. one is, better, but
For me,
How about
Tuesday,
everybody
the
else?
23rd is, sorry,
go ahead.
I was just gonna say, for me, Tuesday, the 23rd is probably better, but I can make the 25th work if I have to.
I
Brian?
can do either one.
Yeah,
Okay.
that sounds good. If it's not conflicting, Dustin cleared that up, that's fine. Either one is fine with me in the evening.
Just out
Okay.
of curiosity, what's the work study related to?
Parking, I think, right?
The pay to parking issue.
Yeah. Vikings rule, what do you say?
I'm preferred Tuesday, the 23rd, but can swing Thursday if needed.
Okay, it sounds like the 23rd is the one we are all in for, so.
I'll
if-
share
if
that.
Nobody,
I'll share that with Dustin's secretary. She's the one putting it together there, so
okay, so just shoot us an email and confirm it.
Right.
And
we'll do.
we'll put it on our calendars. Okay. All right, so we're
Okay.
gonna table this view for now. We don't need a motion or anything like that.
Yep.
And that brings up the last thing, which is the boiler.
Yes, and I know, Mr. President, that was just mentioned about not sinking any more dollars into that building. However, we have 2 boilers in Centennial Park Clubhouse, one of which is basically shot as of last week. And the 2 options we have are replacing the boiler block, which is basically the guts, the main major part of it, to a tune of $19,050, or replacing that entire boiler at a cost of $33,675. We're recommending, after talking with Arctic Engineering, who's our HVAC service provider for that facility, along with Kevin, my conversations with him, that we believe that a full replacement is probably the better investment because they're not sure what else might be damaged on the internal side of this facility. I think the analogy that we've made, or that Kevin made to me that sunk home, was this is similar to maybe a hot water tank at home. And when it starts rusting through, that's when you usually go and replace it. You usually don't, you're not too many people are proactive and say, 20 years is up, I'm going to get a new one. So they wait till the water is coming out of the side of the building or the side of the unit before they replace it. This is basically what happened there in the facility. But either way, we have the choice. If we're looking to save dollars and put a minimal investment in, we can go with the less expensive route. But thinking that the building would be there and maybe can be salvaged for many years to come, we would think that the newer, the full replacement unit would be the better one. The other thought with that is that if the water conditions made this occur to this unit and these two units were put in at the same time, is it just a matter of time till that second unit fails on us too? So that's another reason we were thinking the full replacement would be the recommendation. Right now, this past weekend when the temperatures got real cold, it did sustain and held the building warm enough to have us potentially where we could have events if need be. And we have stuff just to be safe. On the safe side, we put a bunch of temporary space heaters around since we had them in that building already, just to make sure nothing on the lower levels would freeze in case that unit would have possibly gone out over the weekend, which didn't happen. So we're lucky from that perspective.
Is this original?
Now, are these
equipment?
original?
These
Yeah.
are the original boilers to the building. And I will add that I did check, and Tricia advised us that this would be an appropriate purchase out of our existing bond balances. So I think from that perspective, that helps us not to take a big chunk out of our operational budget for the year.
So how long have they been there? I mean, I can't remember. When did we?
2007.
Right.
07? So
Yeah.
14 years.
Centennial year.
Centennial year. Yep.
That's right. Okay. Well,
The other one that
let's face it, the building is not going to be torn down. I don't care what anybody thinks or says.
Right.
So,
Right.
I'm okay with spending the extra money and just
But
replace it.
I'm concerned it only lasted that long.
The other
Boilers
issue
are
that
workhorses.
Arctic did bring up to us, and that after they've talked to their manufacturers, that we should probably add in essence, like a water softener to this to make sure that water.
Right. That's what I was just going to say.
So that will be probably an additional cost somewhere down the road. I don't have that cost yet from them, but that is something that they've already said when they were there Friday, that's probably another thing that they would recommend for us to do. But we knew we had to get either way, one of these had to get ordered. So this is what we had. We were fortunate that we had a meeting today, and why we bring this to you for this emergency.
I mean, I've had some experience in that area, and I think really that's way too soon. And that's a good idea. It must have been hard water or something. It would have lasted normally much longer than that. So that's a good idea to get the softener.
Is there something different about the water there than, in our own house?
Where else?
They get the same water we do.
Huh.
Now, I don't know about the golf course, if that's well water,
Yeah,
but certainly the building gets the same water we do.
yeah, right. I think the irrigation comes out of the lake, doesn't it?
Yes,
I
the
think
building
so.
gets the same. The building gets the same water as everybody, as all residents
Yeah.
in town. I will tell you, just from my past experience and dealing with boilers at an 82-year-old building in a previous job, that we had water softeners, and that there were the equivalent of that as part of the system, and that's the same water that we're pumping in through our town. So I do think that that's probably a longer-term solution. Why that wasn't originally included when the building was built, I can't answer that question for you.
Okay, anybody else?
I would make the motion to replace the boiler.
Which one?
Second it.
The one, not the piecemeal one, but the one for 33,000,
The new boiler.
the new
Okay.
one.
All right,
Not
I just want to make sure.
33,675.
.00.
Yes. And
Okay,
at
but
no,
moved
at
and-
no, we don't carry the zeros that far.
Been moved and seconded, right?
Yes,
Rob,
Yes.
you, okay,
I
all in
second.
favor? Aye,
I,
Aye.
unanimous. I think that's it.
That is it.
So we need a motion.
Second,
I'll motion to adjourn.
Yeah.
Been moved
think
and
we went
seconded,
back.
all in favor? Aye.
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 All right, what, so send us an email on the study session date, and our next meeting is March.
The second?
Second,
No,
yeah.
Second,
March 2nd, correct.
okay. Anything